Good to see you, America. You know that White Buffalo we saw at the band? They're coming to the Belly Up, by the way.
I really
We don't
like
know that. We don't know if their music. I know you like them though, so I thought I'd let you know.
Yeah.
Phone Wi-Fi off. Let's do it.
I already did mine. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
What? No, I don't see that. Where is it? There we go. Let me make sure.
Streaming. Everything is streaming.
Yeah, looks like it.
Turn off apps. Good. Monitor sound is off. Camera color. Streaming on. Mousepad.
Hey,
chairs.
Matt McRoberts, Dan
Matt
Baker,
McRoberts, Dr.
Steve
Daniel
Ricky
Baker,
Bird,
PhD.
very
Steve
nice. Rob
Ricky
Otto on a very
Bird.
special episode. What?
Rob
Carol
Otto.
Donahue, nice.
Yes, sirree, Bob. Or Rob. You know, Robs go by Bob sometimes, but not our Rob. Rob's a proud Rob. See, I don't need that Bob nickname, son. I don't need that at all. I heard him
Nelson.
say it.
Hey, Jen Lundy. Nice to see you out
I
there.
heard him say it once when he was eviscerating a possum.
No, you did not.
Yeah, he was
Nope, you
eviscerating
did
a
not.
possum. It's facts.
I don't think that's facts at all. I don't even think that's remotely facts.
Look at this beautiful bunch of people in here. Dratimus, what's up? Christine, how are you? Nelzone, Jason, Richard, Sean, everybody. Yeah, get your body. It's something like that. I don't know. I don't know my Backstreet Boys music all that well. I'm sorry. Ladies and
Christine.
gentlemen,
Hey,
welcome
Tracy.
to what may very well be the
Hey,
most
Genelia.
earth-shattering, culturally pivotal, world-altering episode of Sigler in Place. It's going to go a little nuts in here. All right. So talk to me a little bit, baby, so I can check your volume.
It is. I also, you guys, don't really know what he's going to talk about. So that's interesting.
Yes. All right. Let's.
What is that thing?
I
What is that
I
thing?
don't know, but I really don't want to find out.
Yeah.
All right.
Mike Natazzi. Brittany Natazzi. Nice to see you both.
Baby girl, you ready to go to the main camera?
Sure.
3 and 2 and 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sigler in Place. We've had a devil of a time getting our color dialed in tonight. Don't know why. I may look a little demonic, which is not necessarily a bad look for me. And over here, my partner in crime, we're very pale over here. We've been screwing with this for like 10 minutes. We can't quite figure it out, so we're going to have to roll with it. We have quite a show for you today. We have a crypt update. We have a tweet of the week. We've got some Junkie Pet Celebrations and a Junkie Pick singular.
And
We do not have a headline of the week. And then we have questions. And also we're going to get to the meat of this episode, right on the bone. The meat is right on the bone. And that bone is, what are we going to do with this live stream podcast and the main podcast? The reason many of you are here is because of the podcast that I've done for many years. Hello, Terry. Hello, Beth. We look marvelous. Daryl, what's going on? Joshua, look at all the whole crew's in town. Mr. Happy's in town. So we're going to get to all of that. It's going to be, we've left a lot of room for discussion.
Yeah, we do have a few housekeeping items to do. First things first, is Scott just put that Chiron on the lower third. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, please do. We are very close to switching our website platform, and you will be the first to hear it then and there if you sign up.
Keep talking,
at
baby.
scottsigler.com.
We got new mics, you guys. We got Rode Pod mics, and they are very different from what we had before, so I have to adjust them on the fly. So go ahead,
and also, well, he'll talk about the texts in a minute because he's got to change the Chiron for that. But I'm going to tell you, next week is a weird week for Sigler in Place and Sigler stuff in general, because next week is, next Wednesday is the 28th of September, and we have a date out of the house, and there will not be a Sigler in Place at all that next week. Also, next week is would have been the first Saturday of the month would have been October 1st, which is not Saturday, but a week from Saturday, and that has been moved to October 8th. And that is happening because Steve can't host, and so it's moved to September 8th. September 8th is actually would have been Sigler Fest weekend, so that's kind of a fun thing. So if you want to join the
Mary.
Sigler Junkie Happy Hour, you do that on October 8th instead of October 1st. And that's the first time we've moved it from the first to the first Saturday. But, you know, the world is opening up a little bit, so you got to take your chance while you can.
You know, I was the reason we bought these mics was, the reason we bought these mics was because they got a built-in pop filter, and they solve many problems. I'm not impressed with the built-in pop filter so far. Steve Ricky Bird, keep your ears open. Let us know what you think of all this, because it might just be stuff in my ears. much like earwax. All right. So, and then of course, who is it going to be? Who is going to be the person who becomes the 500th person to send SIG text to 855-955-5095? We have 499 text subscribers. Hello, Al. Nicholas Smith, what's up, buddy? We have 499. Let's get it to 500, y'all. Let's get it to 500. Somebody, so send a text, SIG text to 855-955-5095. Be the pimp. Be the pimp you always meant to be. And you mentioned there'll be no Sigler in Place on the 28th?
There will be no Sigler in Place on the 28th. We will be back the following week.
Let's get at the crypt update, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any fancy graphics for you today, but we're going to go over this. The technical problems have been addressed, due in no small part to Nicholas Ansbury Smith, who is in the chat room, who helped a little bit. I have now divided the crypt into 4 separate documents, which is gives me heart palpitations because of version control issues. So now when I have to do a global find and replace or check something, I have to have 4 documents up at the same time and check them all. That is the only way to make Word for Mac work with a 400 and... shoot.
And I know there are a lot of you who
right
know exactly what the problem was, but I will tell you, we tried a PC, we tried a Surface, we tried changing, we tried a whole bunch of things, and we have something that works, and I know yours is probably the perfect answer, but we're probably done soliciting things because we have something that worked, and we tried 60,000 things that didn't work, so there you go.
The US code, I think, for phone is +01. Give that a shot. So somebody's asking if it works. All right, so... But here's where we are. I'm finally getting into a groove. I'm finally getting adjusted to my editor, Kayleen's style. It takes a long time for a writer and an editor to get used to each other. And even though she sent me a static document that I talk to her on a regular basis, but still getting used to what the correction she puts in and the way she's trying to modify, adjust my style, it takes time. And so what happens is every time she changes a minor thing, I lose an hour and a half digging through grammar rules and trying to figure out what's what. And after a while, you start to internalize those, and you're just like, okay, accept, okay, deny. Things go much faster. Now we're in the much faster phase.
Yeah, much faster phase.
So far, I've got 5 pages from the manuscript, gone from 462 MS Word pages to 457. I believe that's 5. I'm not good with math. 40% of the way through the book. It was only 25% last week. Now we're at 40%, so we're rocking and rolling. Doing about 13 pages a day. At this pace, if I don't work weekends, which is unlikely, I should be done roughly November 2nd. And that would be the final draft, and then there'll be a copy edit after that. Everything I've seen so far, I like a lot of the wordplay, the way things look on the page, the way they sound when I have Microsoft Word read them to me out loud, which is my final proof. Some of that hasn't gone so good, so that has taken a lot of work to adjust the text on the page, but tell the exact same story. And this is a world building book. So there's an enormous amount to get established. So if it takes till November to get the final draft done, that's cool. Can we announce our narrator? The narrator?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. We have a narrator lined up for the book. I don't know if we have permission to say who the narrator is yet, but we're very happy. And it's not me, which makes me even more happy.
So you guys know, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, and if you're new and you haven't heard, or if you have heard this, it won't be so bad, I'll be quick. But if you haven't, one thing that's true about Scott's writing, and anybody who reads an edit of it, a draft of it, agrees. I think that John Viscar would agree with this. Scott's books tend to, I always call it like the first half to 3/4 of the book, he's kind of lining up all the cogs so that they'll work together at the end at his crescendo. And so for me, around 65-70% of the way through a draft, it starts to zip along, and I'm reading and I'm making less comments, and I'm doing less editing, things that I don't really edit, but making fewer comments in the manuscript or whatever. And I believe, I may be wrong, we'll find out, but I believe that will also be true of this edit, and has, at least in the last few days, he's been increasing day over day the number of pages he gets done. So I'm hoping that maybe he'll reach, I call it terminal velocity. And I'm hoping that he'll start to have some terminal velocity here in the edit and speed things up for all the reasons he said. And also just because that's the way the books sort of read for me. I will tell you, I know Scott has been very frustrated with the technology issues, getting used to the new editor who he loves, Kay. But it's, you know, you have to get used to working together, and she's been awesome. I will say the one thing that I hate about this book edit is that there are no bloopers. Because if I could somehow, if I could somehow share with you, and Steve, the Iceberg Ricky Berg, who's in the chat room on Facebook and is a good friend of ours, he's also our audio engineer, and he always puts together that document, that audio file of Scott cursing in the sound booth during GFL things.
Also tooting and burping in the sound booth, because I am classy. I am a classy motherfucker, man.
However, I wish there were a way for me to send Steve blooper reel things. As you guys know, we live in a townhouse. I work downstairs during the day. He works up here in this room. But we have, it's not a very big space, so I can hear him very easily. And the number of times he says, like, this is a preposition. Is it a preposition?
Cooperative preposition conjunction, goddammit!
Yeah.
I made that grammar up.
I wish I could share that with you, because every time I'm like, ding, 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 what is he talking about?
There are several times during the day when the dogs who hang out in my office when I write just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
They're like, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of tiny man anger in this office. We're going to go. Are you ready to talk about our tweet of the week?
Sure.
Tweet of the week. We're going to do tweet of the week, then we're going to get into what I need all of y'all's help for. Let's get into it. The tweet scene. I sent out this tweet because I'm, a benevolent FTO, and I want everybody's opinion. I say, on a very special episode of Sigler in Place,
now I know why Robbie
we
said
brainstorm what comes next on the podcast. Want to hear my crazy idea? Want to give some input on the FTO's next FTO project? Want to give some input on the FTO's next project? Join us at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, to which Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD, responds, Scott Sigler, where Scott drinks and tells crazy stories. His life as a dirty butt boy from Sheboygan through fat life in the Kappa Sig House to life as a struggler in San Francisco and now with fancy pants in La Jolla. Oh, wait, that's basically Sigler in Place right now. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD. Thank you very, very much.
Although, Scotch Sigler, I am there for Scotch Sigler.
I'm out.
I might have to get you more while you're talking about your idea.
We've cut back our alcohol consumption significantly. It's weekends and then sometimes Wednesdays because it's hump day.
I will tell you guys now that it's over. We were all three super cautious, and for no reason, because nobody cared. But we had a lovely, lovely weekend this past weekend, because Mr. Happy, Chris Grohl, who is also in the chat room on Facebook, was out in California, and he came over at the weekend.
Made
and
chili.
On Saturday, he taught me how to make his famous chili, and it's a 7-hour recipe, and it isn't mine, but he has shared it in Sigler Junkies, so if you want to find it, you should go back and search his posts. It was super duper fun. We had the best day, and then we all three watched football together.
Snap! I forgot about this. Switch over, Kim. You guys.
I knew you wanted.
You guys, between me and A and Chris Grohl, we are fans of 3 of the 4 worst teams in the NFL. The Lions, the Jets, and the Jaguars.
However,
Kelly McCardle's not around for the Browns, but the Browns have had a pretty good run. And
except
what
Kelly is
happened?
Kelly's not rooting for the Browns right now.
Oh, that's right, because the
Deshaun
rapey Browns are not being rooted for by some Browns fans. Baby, what happened? What happened this Sunday?
So all 3 of our teams won this Sunday. Can I tell you the rarity of Scott and I both having a winning Sunday because both of our teams
don't
suck?
happen.
It never happens.
It don't happen.
And the one weekend in years that we have a guest during football. I mean, we've also had, I think Chris came over once before for football. And in fact, Kelly McCardle, since the pandemic started in 2021. Anyhow, we all 3 won. And like, my win was absolutely a heart-stopping win. Not so much for
Legendary.
Chris.
Legendary, Jude.
Chris
Legendary.
Was a shutout. It was
Yeah.
glorious.
The Jaguars went to the whoop-ass shed, went in, found like 3 or 4 cords of whoop-ass, brought them back onto the field, proceeded to use them to whoop all of said ass, then because they're punctual, efficient men, they went back and they restacked their whoop ass back in the shed. Whether they find the key to the shed next week, we do not know. We will remain to find out.
In the Facebook chat room, Rob Otto says this past weekend was the first time that all three teams won on the same day since 2011.
In 2011, I was 22 years old, you guys. 22 years old, a struggling bootlegger in the hills of Kentucky, trying to bring my particular recipe of sour mash to market while Boss Hogg was trying to chase me down on those backwood roads. That's the last time the Jets, the Titans, and the Jags have all won. Last time.
Sir?
Yes, darling.
I don't think you've ever made mash.
Sour mash, babe. Sour mash. All right, ladies and gentlemen, time to get into the good work. Here we go. So,
anyhow, it was a great weekend. It was so much fun to have Chris here, and now it's time for the hard stuff. Would you like me to go get you a second drink?
Would you mind?
Of course not.
Okay. So, I can't read. This is in blue. Who the hell is this? I'm looking in the chat room. Oh,
it's on Twitch.
Melvosh B. I can't, for some reason, it's showing up in blue in our thing, and it's blue, so.
It's blue.
There's a lot of blue balls and interesting things going on here. Let's talk about what's coming up in the cast. Switch back over to here. So, as you know, we are currently podcasting the rookie adult version, which is the old original thing that we podcast back in 2008 and or 9. It was the fourth book I podcast for free. And of course, the podcast is what launched my career, what built up a fan base. Many of you were involved in this. And when we put out an indie book on Amazon, indie trade paperback, it went, Ancestor, it went to #1 in horror and sci-fi, and it wound up landing me a deal to publish Infected, and a 5-book deal with Random House. There was much celebration, a bunch of confetti, and a lot of scantily clad people traipsing about my apartment. So it was wonderful. It was a good time. But we've been doing this for a long time. There were 17 years or closing in on 17 years. I'm not entirely sure. Frankly, I'm out of stuff. Now we are signing deals and publishing books with publishers that either say you can't podcast it or we haven't had that conversation yet. Because if you podcast stuff for free, people who pay money for audiobooks, often that's a dicey conversation. It's hard to convince them that's actually going to sell you more audiobooks. And they have the right, if they've bought the audiobook, to say, no, we're not going to podcast it. That's fine. I will try to see if we can podcast The Crypt, but I think it's probably unlikely. I'll see what I can do. Which means, since we're repodcasting stuff, and the stuff I'll be working on for the next 3 to 5 years might not be podcastable, and we've been, frankly, showing some reruns to you guys in the stream, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. What is going to be the next thing that we can do? So this is why I asked you all. I can't help. You're all wondering why I asked you here today. That's my Columbo. And just one more thing. So here's my idea. It's a multi-pronged idea. So first of all, the story that I will be working on needs to be open-ended, perhaps loosely outlined, but not the usual granular, every I dotted, every T crossed outline that I give you with my horror thrillers. So it needs to be a little more open. So keep that in mind, because what I would like to try and do, and this is what I want your feedback on, is take 1 day a week to work on this ongoing project. 1 day a week. The other 4 days are dedicated to whatever book people are paying me to write. Okay. So 1 day a week, I work on this podcast story. I'm thinking of going on Twitch and just letting people see what I'm writing and interacting with people as I write when I'm not totally down in the rabbit hole of creativity. So Twitch is a weird thing. There are, Twitch streams where people just make weird noises and people watch that and listen to it. Of course, people watch video games, which is way more exciting. But there could be some writers out there or people who want to see how the sausage is made, who, let's say on Tuesday, they want to watch someone write. And they can come, they can not come, I'll just leave that up. That's the first part of the idea, and that's optional. The second part of the idea, and this is what I want your feedback on, is that this live stream, will become me reading out loud the content I wrote on Tuesday or on Friday, whatever day I use. So I will come on SIGLERinPLACE, chit-chat with you guys, glad hand with you guys, then go right into reading original fiction, 15 to 25 minutes of it, that is this new live organic story I am working on, which is why I can't have something that's as tightly outlined as I usually have. Baby, keep an eye on the chat room, see what people think. That's why I'm talking. So I'll also do this. So on Wednesday, I would come on, chit-chat with you guys, and then you get live fiction. Read it live. If I have flubs, I just redo a line. Mm-hmm. And that becomes that's much closer to what we did that made people tune in the first place.
That's just what Maria just said, back to basics. Like to how you started at the beginning.
Steve, I will say who wrote this shit many, many times. And so this is more of a Twin Peaks type thing, or I talked to Waylon over at We're Alive today, sort of a We're Alive type thing, but more, this is there's two styles of writing, which is the architect who outlines everything and knows where all the story's going before they write a word, and everything is predefined, and you write to fill the outline they've made. That is an architect.
Nice to see you.
There is also a gardener, which is more of a George R. R. Martin style, where you write a chapter and then you don't know what's going to happen. What's the next chapter? You go write the next chapter. And of course, I'm sure George has, or Germ, as I call him, George R. R. Martin. I'm sure Germ has a lot of stuff figured out, but a lot of stuff he doesn't, because he waits to see when the characters strike him, the muse strikes him, the plot strikes him, and he goes off in a different direction. The concept of the gardener is you plant a seed and then you let it grow and you see where it goes with very little trimming involved. So, yeah, babe.
I was just going to mention, it turns out we did talk a little bit about this. We didn't talk about it before this cast, so I wasn't sure what he was going to talk about. One thing that is true is that this will be not the crypt. This will be unique because we don't own the crypt.
It'll be a brand new thing.
Right. And it will be absolutely a work in progress. So there won't be exactly the idea that you will be spoiled along the way, or really necessarily contributing to a final product. It's going to be an evolution over time. And that way we sort of see what we see. And this is, if you guys have been around for a really long time, this is very much like when he was writing the original Nocturnal during the week and then recording it on Saturday and putting it out on Sunday.
What's the one? Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah.
So this would be, damn it, it would not be, it could be like Night Vale. Welcome to Night Vale, an extremely successful podcast where they, again, it's a location and they visit the different areas and characters of the location. They come back to things. What's that?
Or Limetown was similar to that.
Limetown, I only made it to the first 3 episodes of Limetown, but I think that was more granular. They knew where it was going before they started recording, I think.
I don't know. I mean, they probably did. But the one thing that was cool about Limetown, if you haven't heard either one of these, Welcome to Night Vale and Limetown are both fictional podcasts that are sort of Blair Witchy live reporting sort of format. But one thing that Limetown had that was sort of fun is they had different, they had somebody record something on their phone in an offline conversation that helped add to the story. So some of those fun things we might do. Who knows?
We might. And that gets us to...
I agree, Sean. The second one was terrible. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right. I can't keep track.
It was terrible.
So, you people who are here know what kind of stuff I write. It's going to be like that. It's not going to be YA. It's going to be brutal and nasty. I'm still working on a lot of different settings to put this in, but let's take the settings and put it aside for now. So Dr. Daniel Baker asked, is this going to be short form or long form? This will be loose.
Jason Carpenter.
I believe, Jason Carpenter. I believe this will be loose.
Terry Davis too.
Long form. All right. So let's just go with right now, it's a town or it's a school, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. It's a small town, kind of like where I grew up, or like my story, Iowa Typhoon, if you're familiar with that. And a lot of weird shit happens to a lot of people in this small town. So it's a long form story, but not thriller structure where
it's
everything
serialized.
It's serialized.
Yeah.
Not where everything factors into everything. It's a little bit more
it's
loose.
episodic. It's episodic is what it is.
It's
like SVU. You kind of, even if you don't see every SVU, you kind of grok it.
You know what? That's
no
a good point. Yeah. Yes. SVU. Chong chong. It's going to be along those lines. Now, here's where it gets nuts. All right. So we have awesome people helping us with our business. We have Allie and Steve helping us with our business. So this is what would happen. So I would write it one day during the week. I would read it live, warts and all, bumps and all. I might literally change things as I'm reading it on this stream on Wednesday nights. And you guys could be a part of that. You can participate in that. And then I'll get your feedback after the episode. And then that recorded video will go to someone who will edit the video. And the audio will go to Steve, who will edit the audio. Steve's job would be take this audio and make it as much like a multicast full audio production as you can in a limited window. All right, Steve, you got
We haven't
3
talked
hours.
to Steve or Allie about
Steve's
this.
just hearing about this right now. Welcome, Steve. This is how it works, right up
Welcome
here.
to Sigler Town.
So Steve would then take the finished audio from Wednesday, bring it down, rip out the audio, chop it up, and his job would be to have the audio done with sound effects, if there are any, by, say, Friday. And then Friday, I process it. Saturday, and Sunday it goes into the feed. Part of the issue we've been having is podcasting. When I started podcasting, was very new, and we had a huge advantage because of my marketing background, and I happened to work for a company that had a full recording studio. I had a lot of advantages right out of the gate that let me be sort of one of the first to market in this, and that got us a big audience. That got us a big audience, and that audience we parlayed that audience into selling books.
Rob Otto is killing it today.
Is he?
Yeah, he said on this very special episode, Steve has an aneurysm. You see Steve? It was like, hi.
Steve can say no. We haven't checked this in with Steve yet. So, but one of the things that made the podcast back in the day was that you couldn't get the rest of the story, and it drove you fuckers crazy. It drove you guys absolutely batshit crazy. T. Morris was doing Moravi. Mark Jeffries was doing the Pocket Independent, and you go out and buy those books. And even though everybody didn't go out and buy those books, the knowledge you could get the rest of the story provided somewhat of a comfort to you. Like, I'll listen to their 5 episodes of Moravi, and then I'll go buy the book if I need to. There was something different about mine where you couldn't get. There was nowhere to get the story except to be there every Sunday and listen. So we get that sense of anticipation back. We get the earth crack factor back. If I'm able to do this, we wind up with new story every Sunday in the podcast feed, which you guys probably don't follow the fiction charts like I do on Apple Podcasting and all the other ones. They're podcasts that are doing 10, 20 times the audience we had back in the day when we started all this business. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I can compete with them. It doesn't matter. What matters is we now get people listening every week, listening to every episode, liking and sharing, and that's going to drive it up the ranks. And if it's higher on the chart, more people are going to listen to it.
It's funny. In the chat room on Facebook, Howard DiNatale just said, I was a huge fan of Brave Men Run, and that was Matthew Wayne Selznick, and he did a podcast. The 2 other gentlemen that Scott just mentioned, they sort of all 3 hit in March of 2005 at the same time. But then there were a lot of follow-on fictions. You've heard them. They're wonderful. You should go listen to stuff. I will say one of the things about me back in the day that I loved, and Brave Men Run made me think about it, so does Jack Wakes Up makes me think about it. That's from a podcaster / author called Seth Harwood. And I remember what I was doing when I listened to those books. And that's such a weird thing for Jack Wakes Up, especially, which is, like I said, Seth Harwood, and you can probably get on, what is that, Scribbled?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Just Google
God,
it.
yeah.
Google it.
Jack Wakes Up and Young Junius, yeah.
Me too. But it was my first endeavor as an adult to try and get healthier, and I would get home from work, immediately change. I had cats, not dogs, so I didn't have to walk the dogs. Immediately change clothes. And the only time I allowed myself to listen to podcasts, fiction podcasts, was walking around my block. And my block is just about a mile long. You've seen the 2 pups, 1 cup that Scott does. that's kind of walking around our neighborhood. And it is literally one square block. And I would do that. And that was the only time I gave myself permission to listen to Jack Wakes Up or Young Junius. And that helped, me stay exercise and stuff like that. So it's such an interesting.
Young Junius was great. That was a white boy going out on the edge with that thing.
Holy cats. I know.
Like that's a lot of courage. I don't know, Seth. That's all right.
But that's sort of so for me, if you guys don't know this, I was not in on Earth Core. The first podcast I ever listened to was the end of Earth Core, the very end of Earth Core. So I didn't get to be part of that, but I do understand the idea of like looking forward to something. And we don't really do that anymore as a society. We get all episodes you can buy when a show releases, or many shows anyway, many series on TV. You can buy the whole thing at once if you want, or you can choose to wait it out and get them weekly or whatever.
Oh,
but
yeah,
this was the only way to do that.
For Christ's sakes. So then we remember this is more Twin Peaks. It might not make a lot of sense in the through line. You're sort of getting to know all these characters in this place. So we do a live Twitch stream where I just write, interact when I can, focus when I can't. It's just there. You can pop in, you pop out, whatever you want. Read that on Wednesday on this very live stream. Probably open up reading the story, and then the second half of the live stream will be we'll come up and we'll chit chat about what's going on, say hi to all y'all, and show pictures and dogs and all the great stuff. Then Steve, if Steve is up for it, would have a couple of days to edit this and get it ready. Then we podcast it as polished, finished audio live on Sundays. And then when the season, because that's what you call it in podcasting now, when the season is done.
Now, I like that you added the now. Back in my day, we just put out episodes.
When I was a kid, we just dumped episodes, just sprayed them all over the windshield. So then we take each season, I write to fit, say, 13 to 20 episodes. We finish that season, then that season gets uploaded to Audible. And this series will continue for, say, 2 to 5 years. And we wind up having a new weird as hell franchise going on. Mm-hmm. That is the idea. Ladies and gentlemen, and of course, wait, one more thing, babe. Oop, I gotta do this. Also, chopping all this, I cannot get this right. As I chop up all this stuff, it'll also be existing on video. Here's the reason why. Hold your thought. This is very complicated. Very complicated. If I'm able to do this and I frame the video correctly, we will have the audio-only podcast. We will have the frame rate you're seeing now, the horizontal or landscape frame on YouTube. Then we will have the vertical episodes on Instagram TV, which you can have up to 30-minute episodes there as far as I know. We'll have it on Facebook video. We'll have it on Snapchat, and I'm sure I'm missing one with all of the kids doing. They'll have it on TikTok. So I take this existing video, chop it up, and that's what Allie would do, and then get it ready for it. Now it's ready for TikTok. Now it's ready for Instagram. Now it's ready for Facebook. Now it's ready for Twitter. Whatever platform you use, we take the same friggin' video we shoot on Wednesday and frame it up all these different ways, and we dump it out on all these things. A and I are old. We don't know how the TikTok works. Go ahead, baby.
So I will say this as well. Tracy. Who asked it? Oh, Kim Hansen asked, do you have time to do another project like this? And this, if you know Scott and I at all, we've talked about this nonstop, and this is a terrific question. And here's what I'll tell you. I believe, while it will take some time to kludge in, it is actually going to take less time. One of the things you guys don't know is quite a goodly amount of time. Like, you've read all the anthology stories he does. You read Bug Hunt, for example. You whichever. Lady with is it a Vengeance or a V? What is the
Victim with a capital V?
Victim with a capital V.
Yeah, like Victim with a capital V. If you're familiar, it'd be like that kind of thing.
That's not what I'm saying. So those short stories, when he agrees to do an anthology, there's a really it's a business decision for us. Who is doing the anthology and how much reach will it get, and how long does it take for us to get that original content back, that we own it, that we can do anything with it, which is very common in anthologies. There's two ways you do it. They either ask for an original story and all the rights revert to you after 18 months or whatever the time frame is, or they don't have any exclusivity and they just want one of your stories in the anthologies. The only time that we take an exclusive use contract is if it's 18 months or less, or it's for a couple of there are a couple of asks, people who ask that we always say yes to because they're terrific and they always take care of us. But the reason that we do that is so that we can continue to build his short story collection and eventually finish the color collection series. That said, that happens when those things happen. Scott writes in 4-hour blocks. And normally what happens when we do that is if he is not under a deadline like he is right now, then he writes 4 days a week on whatever his main project is. And on Friday, he writes whatever the other thing is. And if he is on a deadline like he is now, he only writes 4 hours a day. And you know that he works like a mofo. So what happens is he writes 4 hours on his primary project in the morning, or in this case, like if he were going to start this today, he would be this week, he would be writing or editing the crypt 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And then one of those 5 days a week, he does a second, or he does like another 4 hours in the afternoon of the other half of the day.
That's the catch to this is I have an addictive personality and I tend to go down rabbit holes and do stuff like, hey, I've got 2 weeks off. I'm going to start a brand new novel and assume I can finish it in 2 weeks. We've learned this is not possible. So this largely becomes a game. This is a game where one day a week, I have X amount of hours to write X amount of pages and finish and done, then read them out loud, and then somebody else edits them, and we get them put in the feed in various way. That's why it has to be more Twin Peaksy, right? And more, what was it again? More Night Vale.
Yeah.
It can't be the disciplined, structured, thriller style plots I've given you guys for 15 years now. It has to be something a little different. So that'll be different. If somebody mentions like Nocturnal, and it is like Nocturnal. We kind of...
Yeah, Maria said that.
Yeah,
like
a couple of people have said that.
Yeah. And I'll say another thing. One of the things, well, first I want to answer Shannon, Bethany, you asked what was the name of the short story about the election. I think you're thinking of Dale and Mabel, right?
No, the short story about the election was the story that was not included in here. I'll look it up. Talk to the people for a second.
So what I will say also is we have been very frank, and Scott has always been quite open about his ADHD and his desire to create whatever works as a work-life balance for him. And especially we went to Sheboygan at the sort of the middle to end of August, and he got to write a screenplay in a week with Rob, who's in the chat room on Facebook. And I have said this on this cast. I've said it several times. The amazing, it's amazing to watch them work together because Scott loses all that pinging out of his head to do 50 different things and can sit for 8 hours a day with Rob. And part of the reason for that is that they're very similar in their, in some of their, I think Rob has a much broader movie taste than both of us. Like he loves movies in general. He's like Howard. He loves movies in general and all of that. Anything there is good, but they have a very similar taste and they have such a long history. They've known each other for so long that there is zero ego. There is zero trouble. If they love this, if Rob comes up with an idea that they love at 9 a.m. and Scott comes up with a competing idea at 10 a.m., by 2 p.m. both might be gone because they both weren't as good as what came next. It's really lovely. And so by giving him an opportunity to write in a different way than he normally does, at the same time he's trying to retrain his ADHD brain to do other things.
It was rough.
This is rough. You can't see me, but I'll keep talking. That really might help from what I understand about ADHD, which is fuck all. To be honest,
there we go.
That will really maybe help him sort of clean up. Jason Russell, Clean Up on Aisle 5 is not about an election.
It's the book in question is called Resist. That is a Hugh Howey anthology. I wrote a story for it that didn't make it into the anthology, which I didn't know until the day the anthology published. So I then put out the story by myself. So,
and it's called what?
I don't remember.
So why did you call it Resist?
I didn't call it What is going on with this shit? Hold on, guys. There we go.
So
I didn't call the name of the anthology is Resist. Never mind. There's a anthology called Resist. It's about politics and stuff. I wrote a story for it. It didn't make it in. I released it on the feed. So the person who asked, it's kind of like that. Go on. All right.
And what they asked is what the name of that story was.
I don't know the name of the story. I just write them. I don't name them. What's up, Wolf Creek?
See how all that just happened? One of the
Danny
things
Lundy.
that we are trying really hard in 2022 and 2023 for Scott to do is kind of retrain his writing brain. And this is one way that we're going to attempt to do that because Scott, probably some of you have met him at a what did we call it? Books and beer. What did we call it when you did that?
Books and Brews.
Books and Brews.
Books
yeah.
and Brews. An event.
You might have met him at gone to a bookstore, hung out with him after at a bar, and he would say like, if I could, I would work every single day, all day, and things change. Like that has changed for Scott. Scott wants time for music, wants time for his friends, wants time for his dogs, wants time for football, wants time for me, things like that. For what everyone else on earth other than Scott in the last decade would have called a work-life balance. And this is one of the ways that we're going to try to sort of shock his brain, like defib his brain.
Jay Radovitz. Tomes and foams. Very good.
Tomes and foams. To feel like he can write different sorts of books, because of course we all love the stories that he currently writes, which are very cinematic and very integrated, and like I said, cogs coming together at the end, all that stuff. But we also, a lot of us love the very short stories that don't have every single thread finished and every single I dotted and every single T crossed. We love those too, but he's gotten a little bit away from that, and so this might be a way to train him to write different.
We would love if I could write, a little bit more footloose and fancy free, because I get so obsessed with all the details and make sure everything's like, it takes me an hour to edit a full page of text now, and that's finished text that an editor's already gone through. I still spend an hour going through every last syllable, and that's very good for the ADD, but it's very bad for business. So at the same time, I've had some success recently with, I only have, 5 or 3,500 words to play with a story. I can't do what I usually do. I'm going to have a very light touch. And when I do a light touch, those seem to turn out well. So we'll see if that's part of it. But overall, I think we'll probably send this out in the newsletter, get some kind of a poll going. This, from what you see in the chat room, does this seem like, in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen, if you think this would be a good idea to hang out with me on Wednesday as I read to you live, then have it chopped up, put in the podcast feed, knowing it might be weird and everything might not be explained. There will be blood. But everything might not be fully explained, and you might be left wondering, like, but what happened to Sarah? What? I just wanted more of Sarah, and I never got more of Sarah. Gosh darn it.
Except, as I understand this idea, and absolutely correct me if I'm wrong, right? But
I never correct my wife if I'm...
Well, you know why.
Nuh-uh.
But do actually correct me if I don't have this right. So to be very clear, he is going to write a story without you guys, read it to you in the first half of a live stream or the first 20 minutes of a live stream or whatever. Then there will be a discussion that we can all participate in, like, what the fuck happened to Sarah? She was there for the last 3 stories. What happened to her? And he may share info or may not share. So the answer to what happened to Sarah could be, oh yeah, she didn't work, I cut out that whole subplot, and you won't get any other info. But it could also be, oh shit, I forgot about, or Sarah comes back in episode 6 or whatever. So we could
Bruce.
get some sort of the
Thanks,
inside Ben. Kind of thing. Anyway, that's the idea. It's I will tell you as a first reader, an alpha or beta reader, whatever I am. Sometimes that's frustrating as fuck, you guys. But I think in a dynamic way, like a live cast way, that sort of thing, that might be more interesting because you could ask real time. Sometimes I fight really hard for plot threads or characters that have been cut and will never come back, and I really loved them.
But the thing about this is, babe, when you think about this is, if we're doing it live, remember, those of you who listened to Nocturnal back in the day, Pookie Chang was supposed to die in episode number 3.
Yeah.
And all you bloodhounds sniffed the blood and started emailing me. I got like 15 emails. Said, please don't kill Pookie. We love Pookie. I'm like, how do you motherfuckers know I'm going to kill Pookie? It's all up here. It's not. It was obvious. So we kept him, and now he's become an absolutely beloved character. So part of the fun here is if we're writing this organically and we're gardening, if you guys fall in love with a character, we will open up the forum to say, hey, if you guys want to see more of a particular character, do that. Because I've created, thousands of characters now, and I don't always know what's going to resonate. So, go, baby.
I will tell you. So I think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
Okay, so I will tell you a couple things as a reader of very early drafts. Sometimes I think I have a conversation with Scott, which you guys will too if we do this, where he will say, I will be like, oh, but maybe Farm Girl should live or whatever. And he will be like, absolutely, of course. Why didn't I think of that? And it will legitimately be gone the next day forever. And I had a vested interest in that. But it's his book, not my book, right? And that's kind of the reality that I've come to, because sometimes I will spend time, several conversations, several weeks go by where I'm like, yeah. Do you mind if I talk about the in Contagious?
Sure, but
in Pandemic?
Save us 10 minutes so people can look at their cats.
Sure, very quickly.
We love cats.
Pandemic, if you haven't read Pandemic, this is spoilers. You might want to stop for about 2 minutes or skip ahead 2 minutes. Spoilers for Pandemic. At the beginning of Pandemic, it opens with a conversation between, right? This is the one that opens with Clarence and Margot?
Yep. That's the roughest. I think that's the roughest scene I've ever written.
Yes. And I will tell you this story. And we had a conversation. So when that happened, he sent it to his editor, which was Julian at the time. Can I get big screen? I think people will like to hear this.
Got it.
So it was Julian Pavia at Random House, Crown/Random House at the time. And he wrote a story, the beginning opening conversation that you guys already know between Margot and Clarence. And it was about an actual literal young toddler child, like a grown child. And I won't talk too much about spoilers in case people didn't get the warning, but you know what that conversation is like if you've read Pandemic. And then when Margot had dreams where she was speaking to somebody, she was speaking to the child. And Julian was like, this is great. It kind of, it's a little lot to go into this very big plot. And I'm not really sure we need it. We need the idea that there was that going to happen, that was going to, and that's the job of an editor and a writer, right? So he's mad, of course, and he talks to me about it. And he's like, I don't know, I just feel like that's really powerful. I'm like, it is really powerful, but maybe Julian's not wrong. Maybe it's very powerful, but it's a lot. It's too much. It doesn't need to be in there. Mm-hmm. What else could be in there? And like mad, he's all like, well, I mean, I guess she could fucking talk. This is a big spoiler. I guess she could fucking talk to Perry. That was way better, right? And that is, if you read, really, you know where it's sort of right.
I like that a lot.
But he did it kind of like ding, 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 ding. I guess fucking she could do that. And so that turned out to be a very good thing. So that's a way it worked for the positive. But I have dozens of and so does John Vizcarra, have dozens of versions of this really worked really, really, really well. And it's gone for no reason. So if you're gonna buy into this live stream, you need to know that you could fight for fucking Sarah for 5 weeks, and then she can absolutely be gone in a flash.
There's a writing phrase that's known as murder your children, which means you take your favorites and you kill them for the sake of the book. So I will be murdering your children.
Absolutely.
In a way that I probably won't go to jail, but I can't say for sure unless my legal counsel, Rob Otto, phones it in at the trial. All right, let's get thank you guys. That's been very helpful.
Thank you so much, you guys.
This seems to be very, very, very fucking
Go, Sarah.
Rob, I texted. Rob is the ruiner of the fourth wall with his wit, because I keep cracking up at it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get on. We're going to go. That was helpful. That gives us some direction. This may sound sappy. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your feedback. We would have no career at all if it wasn't for the fucking crazy diehard fans that we've developed from the podcast and from the books. So, mwah, 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 mwah. Or mwah, either one, whichever you want. Let's get into some dog pictures.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
do it.
Let's swing over here. Boop. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we did the tweet scene, right?
Yep.
You're over here now, by the way. Pup dates.
I think you have to
to
choose them. Remember, physically choose them.
Bang. First of all, who's this, baby?
Come on. This is Cordelia. This is Cordy P. Lockett, I love to call her. Cordelia is our good friend, Amy Reed, who's the goddamn dog sitter, and her spouse, Jim Lockett. This is their new pup. She was a pandemic pup. She was adopted in 2020. She's adorable. She had parvo before she was adopted, so she also probably that whole visit that you see right there when she was a puppy, she peed and pooped on everything. But that's okay because now she's better.
It was rough, you guys.
It was rough, but that's every puppy, and even a puppy with parvo.
It was rough, you guys. All right, and our big pup picture, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I did not warn you about this.
You didn't?
Sorry, you're going to have to remember who made this.
Oh, of course I know who made this. This is Super Reese, and look at how young she was with that absolutely chocolate brown
my tiny
snout.
buddy.
And right now she has a very snowy snout. This was actually the first time that I met my friend Samorg, Jorah Bacci.
That's right.
She was lovely enough to have made a cape for Super Reese and bring it to a tour stop in Portland and gift it to Reese. Reese, this was the Alive book tour. Smork also had absolutely killer GFL manicure that she had done herself with like different
Smork's
team
dope,
logos
man.
on every
Dope,
single
dope,
finger.
Dope.
This tour, Reese actually got a ton of gifts, and Reese was the only dog at the time. This was 2014, so there was no Stella, there was no.
I'm opposed to dog costumes, but you know when you show up with an orange and black empty set superhero cape for my dog.
Oh, look at how tiny she was.
I admit some of my walls crumbled a little bit.
She's probably barely a year old here. Not even, because that was July of 2014, and she was 8 months, so she was 9 months old here.
Good girl. All right, let's go to everybody else's pups. Number one, bang.
Oh, so this cutie is Demi.
It's a
this
good-looking
sweet
pup.
little kitty. This is the kitty.
They're all pups to me. I don't like
fair,
cats,
that's true.
so therefore, if I like it, it's a pup.
Fair.
Good-looking pup.
So this is Demi. Demi belongs to Jason Brown and his family. And I mistakenly loaded this photo twice. So Jason, if you want to send in an update photo for next week, I know you sent two, but somehow I uploaded the same one twice. And he was like, these are the exact same photo. So this is Demi. She just came home.
Cute pup, man.
She came
Looking
home,
good.
I think, Tuesday of last week, or maybe Wednesday of last week. And it was a little too late to get her on SIGLERinPLACE, but welcome home. She's adorable.
Welcome home. And this?
Okay, so these are... Christine McCullough sent these in, and there's one following on here where you meet the third kitty cat in this gorgeous house and these lucky kitties. The black one, that's Enchant, and he's a he, and Xanadu is the other one.
So he's a verb. The cat is a verb.
Looks like it.
All right.
Xanadu is the
Which is
half-face
a
calico.
gerund? Is that right? If a verb,
have zero
if a verb
idea.
becomes a noun, is that a gerund, ladies and gentlemen? All right, got it.
And then they also, you'll see them both in this next pic as well. They also have a brother named Charmy, who's the one. Look at that sweet
These
picture.
literally look like Snoop Dogg's cats. Where are your cats? Oh, baby girl, they're all high in the back room. They're just hanging out, man.
Yeah, they're
Enjoying
so
life, baby boo.
stinking cute. These with the feet up in the Enchant with the feet up in the back. So this is Charmy, and Christine says in the last few weeks he's absolutely grown into his name. So I guess he's charming.
And then, oh my
this
goodness.
I also love. This Kim Hansen,
What a
our good friend
sweetheart.
for this
Goodness
cast. She's
gracious.
always so gracious in sending in photos and stuff.
Cheers, Kim.
And this is her dog.
I'm just a small town grammar lawyer, and I don't know a lot about gerunds and participles. Go ahead, babe. Sorry.
This is Kim and Mystic Lion's dog Enzel from their pack. They have a bunch of dogs. He is part Chow Chow, Boston Terrier, Border Collie. And he is currently in that photo at the Eel River. This is right now, she says, or it was a little earlier this month. She says, it's still early in the rainy season, but after a big storm, all the rocks he's sitting on will be covered by the river.
Wow.
So I thought that was a beautiful photo to share. You can't really see, I know you can't really see Enzel, but I thought that was a pretty interesting thing to say and such a pretty photo.
Okay, now we're going to go to the Junkie Picks, and boom. And tell us about this, baby. We only have one junkie pick this week.
This is from Emily McGregor. She sent it in a while ago. Emily McGregor works for a bookstore. You guys probably already know this because she joins quite often, Sigler-in-Place. And she sent this in. She I don't know if this is called vandalizing or marketing, but she sticks Post-it notes in Scott's books and or books she loves to say, hey, check out some of the other things and you can try them for free on a podcast. I think that's terrific. Thank you so much, Emily. It's such a smart thing to do. And this is
the thing. I'm not going to lie. Number one, if you look, okay, a lot of people will go into a bookstore and rearrange their favorite author's books so that they are face out. Face out is an important thing. Of course, there are far less bookstores than there were 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. But still, if you go in and you turn my books face out, that infuriates the bookstore staff.
It makes more work for them, actually.
Because they have a specific schedule of books they're supposed to put face out. So don't do that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It's, I like it, but, if somebody's making, minimum wage or close to it, and they're busting their ass doing the best they can, you don't want to fuck with those people, man. Let them be.
And they're going to have to fix it.
But putting a little Post-it in a book, there's nothing wrong with that. That ain't going to hurt nobody. Open up a Post-it, open up a book, and there's a message for you. And I'm like, hello, friend. I couldn't help but notice you were looking at a Scott Sigler book, which makes you both sexy and erudite all at the same time. Perhaps you should look at more Scott Sigler books, etc., etc. That doesn't hurt anybody, and people aren't upset about it, I think.
So I just read this on Facebook this past weekend.
Jen's in the house?
Yeah,
what's
Jen,
up, girl?
Jen's in the house.
I was, I haven't told, I was thinking about you today, and I can't tell you why. It's a surprise. Go ahead, babe.
I read on Facebook this weekend, I have no idea if it's true, that the Gideons who put Bibles in hotel rooms and the Mormons who put their Book of Mormon, I guess, in the hotel room.
Yep, okay.
They, or someone, probably a Gideon or a Mormon, started a rumor that a lot of the books that you get in hotel rooms have dollar bills hidden somewhere in them. So I have a friend who goes,
Smart,
you guys all know Ruthie. They go into every hotel room and shake out the Bible or the Book of Mormon by the spine just in case they get $1 out of the deal. They've never done that.
$1 for your holla, Jesus. $1 for... Wait, Mormons have Jesus, right? Mormons have Jesus? I'm a little bit fuzzy on my...
They do. It's Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. So.
Okay. $1 for your holla, Jesus. Love it. You know what? I should put a... We should have a whole episode which is nothing but like, I'm going to throw out a bunch of characters and you guys pick which ones you like. That'd be fun as shit.
That would be fun
for
as
the
shit.
podcast.
Yeah, that would be. So anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, but that sort of guerrilla marketing idea, I think, is the idea behind what Emily did at her own behest. We did not ask her to do that, but I love it so much.
I mean, I'm just a small town grammar lawyer, but I didn't ask you to put a note in any book. I didn't ask you to do things that furthered the cause. But if you did, that is your rights to free expression.
Crazy Shank, I was just going to say, check out Sigler. And also, I'd like to talk to you about extending your car's warranty. Very nicely done, you and the internet today.
I love the car warranties. All right, ladies and gentlemen, great episode. I don't give a fuck what you guys think.
At least for him.
I'm going to go ahead and self-proclaim. You know, a lot of people have been telling me maybe it's a great episode. I don't know. I think if a lot of people say it, maybe it is a great episode. I don't know, but that's what people are saying.
So, as a reminder, normally before we end the entire show, I tell you what the theme of next week is. This, by the way, is Stephen King's birthday. The author. Happy birthday, Stephen King.
Happy birthday, Stephen King. Happy birthday, Stephen King. You write a bunch of messed up stuff that you're a gardener, Stephen King, and your plots don't always end well, but we love them anyway, Stephen King. Yeah. All right.
Anyway. This time I'm reminding you of two important things for next week. My phone just thinks, or my watch just thinks I fell over because I was shimmying. Next week, next Wednesday, September 28th, we will have no episodes. Scott and I are leaving the house to eat cheese and drink whiskey, I think. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're going to a thing. Anyway, so also not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after is normally Sigler Junkie Happy Hour. And Sigler Junkie Happy Hour has been moved to October 8th instead, the second Saturday of the month, because Steve has plans. So we will be back then on October 5th, which is World... Oh, wait, I still...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to the primary camera. You know how it is. I know everybody wants to look at you, but every once in a while, they got to look at this big bald noggin. We are off next week. We'll be back October 5th. Casey, I wanted to say that we'll be back October 5th, which is World Teacher Day. Casey, could I send a long-distance dedication to all the teachers out there who are busting their ass? And also, Casey, no, they are not a bunch of groomer pedophiles, no matter what QAnon tells you. Well...
eat cheese. Eat cheese. We're going to eat cheese.
We're going to go eat cheese.
And drink whiskey. Apparently, I said eat trees. And everybody was like, what?
You did say trees, which is slang for edibles. Because, Snoop and I hang out.
No,
Snoop,
they don't.
Sometimes I'm just saying Snoop's a talented rapper. But every now and then he's like, yeah, I need a rhyme. And he calls me up and he says, hey, Sigs, man, can you give me a rhyme? And I say, Snoop, give me a minute. And then we eat some trees, and I give Snoop a rhyme. Not all the time, sometimes.
So, you know the spiel. You have anything you want me to share? I don't have a single... I could go back to high school photos, but I was waiting for it to get cooler, and people have less to do that. Send me ideas for Siglebrations, photos of your pets, photos of you, anything you're proud of. Dudes, I think either Emily McGregor or Carol Donahue sent me a weird photo of a tree growing out of a traffic like a triangle in the middle of the street, and we ran it. It's no thing that makes you laugh too hard is a problem to send in.
If it makes you laugh, it probably makes us laugh. Because frankly, I'm easily entertained. I mean, I laugh at Rob Otto all the time.
Right. And when he's on trees, he's very easily entertained. So anything,
tonight,
send
son.
all that to info@emptyset.com. I don't know how to do this. info@emptyset.com. And I would love you forever for it. Like I said, Kim Hansen sends in stuff all the time. It's super wonderful and very nice for me. So send in all your pet photos. And Jason Brown, send in more photos as Demi grows up. And until then, we absolutely want you to stay safe. There's lots going on, you guys.
We want you to stay smart. Ladies and gentlemen, I have so many holes in my arm right now. Well, because I got a flu shot. I got a COVID shot. You know why? Because just like teachers are probably not groomer pedophiles, vaccines are a very, very, very good thing that has altered the course of humanity. And gosh darn it, too bad polio's back. I feel bad for those kids, man. Those kids are going to get polio and look at their parents and like, the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do, Mom? Jesus Christ.
I will say one very quick thing. As you guys know, I'm a medicinal chemist. That's what I was before I was this, back in the day. And I worked on what you guys probably get as the quadvalent flu vaccine before it was commercially available. I worked on the studies for it. And I will tell you this. So I'm a big sort of flu tracker person. And the Southern Hemisphere flu season is winding up, and it was not pretty. And it is a marker, it is a historical marker for what happens when it comes up to the Northern Hemisphere. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, flu vaccines are available right now. It wasn't pretty in the Southern Hemisphere.
And some of you bitches are getting older. And flu will kill your ass if you're older. So get your flu shot and be done with that shit.
And if you're over, well, in the United States, I think you have to be over 65. You will also get a pneumonia vaccine.
Oh, I've got the pneumonia with the diverticulitis. And that was the way I said stay smart.
Yeah, so I'll say and stay science.
And for the love of science, stay informed. There are many, many smart, very smart people who've studied things for a very long time who actually know what they're talking about. They're called...
Jen, I'm no older shit too. I'm with you.
They're called doctors. They are not called talking heads. Listen to the people who are...
Nelson, we love you.
You know what? The thing is, listen to the boring people. Listen to the fucking boring ass scientist. You're like, I love what he's saying. It's got a lot of knowledge, but Jesus Christ, I gotta go get a drink after this.
Let's kiss off into the sky, Mama.
Sorry, I got distracted. Thank you guys for the great episode. Very helpful. And now you may all kiss off into the sky. Mwah!